This is the Daily Market Comment by Rafi Boyajian. I'm Maria Bashardis. Thanks for joining us at xm.com. The New Zealand dollar fell about 1% on Wednesday after the Reserve Bank of New Zealand doubled its bond buying plan at its policy meeting today and gave its clearest indication yet that negative interest rates could become an option in the future. As central banks run out of ammunition to counter the devastating economic impact of the coronavirus, the RBNZ has not only been forced down the quantitative easing path, but is now actively considering whether negative rates will become a necessary tool. The Kiwi was the day's worst performer, while the pound was the biggest gainer. A smaller-than-expected contraction in UK GDP in the first quarter provided some support for sterling amid ongoing confusion about Boris Johnson's lockdown policy and concerns about Britain's burgeoning fiscal deficit. The US dollar was also flat against a basket of currencies as investors looked to Fed Chairman Jerome Powell's speech later today for clues on whether the Federal Reserve is also contemplating negative rates. There's been no shortage of Fed speakers this week, but the highlight will be today's speech from the Fed chief himself as markets obsess over the likelihood of negative interest rates in the United States. Powell will probably reaffirm that negative rates are not on the cards, putting him on another collision course with President Trump, who tweeted yesterday that the U.S. should accept the gift of negative rates, as other countries have. Trump has lately toned down his criticism of Powell and company, but the longer the U.S. economy remains in some form of a lockdown and the slower the ensuing economic recovery, the more Trump will press the Fed to do more. Depending on how strongly Powell rejects the possibility of negative rates, Wall Street looks vulnerable to sell-offs. The market mood has already dampened somewhat this week as signs of a resurgence in new virus cases in China and South Korea have dented optimism that the easing of the lockdown measures will be a one-way road to recovery. The prospect of a long and difficult struggle out of the pandemic weighed on stocks globally, though U.S. futures had turned positive during European trading hours after a 2% drop on Tuesday. This was today's Daily Market Comment. Thanks for joining us at xm.com.